See, I want this game to have a Trials of Mana remake.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. Would you combine both into one?
Yes.
Okay. So you would do Golden Sun and the Lost Age as like
I
one
would do
remade.
as like what they...
Welcome back to some more of Golden Sun. In the last episode, we freed Master Hammet. And now we're going back to his palace to notify, Hammet Palace. And we're gonna reunite Hammet with his wife.
She's gonna be like, damn it, I thought I was free.
Well, she is kind of like, didn't we agree we were gonna wait on this? See? I told you time and again not to go to Loompa, but you went anyway. You deliberately disobeyed me.
Yep.
Ivan's like, you're not my mom.
She's like, I'm happy. However, isn't there something else you should be doing?
I do like that. It's just like
the only one in this entire game that makes sense. She's just like, thanks and all. However, there's a bigger problem that you should be, dealing with right now.
So, like, even though we play it as a joke, there is slightly one reason why we are constantly coming up to roadblocks. So, Saturos and Minardi are purposely slowing us down. They're fucking with the places they know we have to follow them, and they're either adding monsters.
Well, yeah,
or
like
causing
any
hassle.
type of villain would.
Yeah.
However, it's not like explained. There's no.
No, it doesn't happen. All the
there's
time.
no illusion to the player that like they're the ones doing this, because to us it's just like, man, these kids can't keep
catch
it
a break.
together. Like,
Yeah. A break cannot
dang,
be caught. Mm-hmm. And Hammet's talking about continents in Hesperia, and I'm just like, that's in the sequel. Can we focus on the Venus Lighthouse that is like 2 aisles down?
I'm just like, Jesus Christ, like, come on, kids.
Yeah, do not waste time chattering. Oh, lady. If only you knew.
Like I said, she's now my favorite character. She's the only one that makes sense around here.
Like, I still enjoy this game, and like, at the time of this recording, both of these games are now available on the Nintendo Switch Online.
Yeah.
Both Golden Sun and Golden Sun: The Lost Age. So people can check them out. But I hope it's not just me. I hope more people are just like, was this game always this chatty?
Yeah.
Because, like, you're always going to have an attachment to, like, your first genre.
Absolutely.
Like, if this was your first RPG, you're going to love it, warts and all.
Well, yeah, because you don't know any better.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be the same, I'm sure, like, if we play a game that's, like, better than Ys. I'm going to be like, I recognize it's better, but it's not better! Like,
Yeah.
You'll have to forgive me, I'm really snotty today.
Yeah,
so.
you're a little congested, so just turn your head away from the microphone and let it happen.
Yep.
It's okay. I'm just doing inventory management because at long last, we begin our journey to the Venus Lighthouse. Now, granted, it's not a hot skip and a jump. There's still a handful of obstacles left, but there's also an optional dungeon that I'm going to do because it nets us some sweet awards, and it has a crazy difficult boss.
Ooh.
So, we're going to head to Crossbone Isle in a few episodes. Yeah. Crossbone Isle has a fun pattern of rare enemies that only exist in this dungeon and puzzles.
Okay.
So it's just like enemies puzzle, enemy puzzle, enemy puzzle, boss. And our last Ginny is on Crossbone Isle as well.
Oh. See, I want this game to have a Trials of Mana remake.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. Would you combine both into one?
Yes.
Okay. So you would do Golden Sun and the Lost Age as like
I
one
would do
remade.
as like what they intended.
Mm-hmm.
But I would take out all of the roundabout bullshit.
Mm-hmm. See, Puritans wouldn't like that. They're like, oh, they altered so much of the dialogue. They removed so much.
Yeah, but they still said the exact same fucking thing.
And I agree. Because This wasn't my first RPG, but it was a big part of my life. Like, it was an RPG that I really absorbed because I liked the graphics at the time. I liked the music. I just liked the colors, and like I was just in the moment. And I wasn't really paying attention to the dialogue. I was just like, blah, 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 save the world. Now that I'm actually like reading box by box, I'm just
holy shit.
Oh, we gotta trim the fuck out of this.
But it's like, even by doing that, you like
Thanksgiving trimmings.
Yeah. Like, I don't think that they would be losing any of the charm or anything like that. I think
if anything, they could use it to add some charm.
Yeah.
Some additional charm. Like, here's my question. Because you're combining both games, would we get rid of the silent protagonist? Because Isaac talks in The Lost Age. And the character talking now goes mute in The Lost Age. So there's a distinct, like, slash in between because you resume that character, because you're the player character, they stop talking.
So, I think what I would do in the event that it was like that, I would probably give the option to play both characters. So, again, kind of like Trials of Mana, where you can pick your character.
You can't really work this story that way, because they're both at completely different goals. Like, you start...
Or there can be, like...
with one goal, and then after Venus, you switch to the other goal.
So that's when you would just, like, include a scene, then, at the Venus Lighthouse that would switch them. So it's like, if you're a silent protagonist, they could include things like how Adol is a silent protagonist, how Link is a silent protagonist, but they still communicate, and they still have their own personality.
Okay.
To do something like that, and then it's like, oh, they get to the Venus Lighthouse, and now we're switching perspectives.
Yeah.
So
you'd keep it the same thing.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens.
Like, each character still has their own personality. They're not like a complete blank slate where you would put yourself into that character. Like, they clearly have their own personality.
Right.
They're just silent. Like, you don't hear them talking. But that doesn't mean that you can't select, like, how you can choose, like, oh, is Adol being sassy today by the response I choose?
Yeah.
Like, he is silent to us, but not to the other characters.
Okay. Another thing that would be nice for the remake is you'd have a lot more buttons to map shortcuts for the synergy.
Yeah.
So it'd be less going through the menus to...
Yeah, and that's what I
go
mean.
from
I think
synergy
that,
to
like,
synergy.
this game has such strong, good bones.
Yeah.
That I would love to see it be remade and updated and just given more time and attention.
And, like, by combining both of them, you could tackle the problems of both games at once.
Yeah.
And really have, like, the
But
definitive version.
not only that, but to streamline and smooth out the story.
And after they did that, again, we know nothing about the third game.
Yeah.
Should they do the same with the third game? Should they even acknowledge it? Because it's very
it
divisive,
depends.
and I don't know if it's sold well.
Yeah, I think it would depend. Is it a game that follows the same story, or is it, like, its own fun little standalone? Because that would be like, oh, well, Trials of Mana was remade, but they didn't do the first one or the second one. They only did Trials. And it's like, well, yeah, because that's the one that they wanted to remake. The other ones, they didn't need to, like, smush them together. You know what I mean? Like, it made its own story.
They actually remade the previous ones. They just weren't as well received as Trials of Mana. They didn't get it right yet. So, like, they remade the first Mana game as, like, a cell phone game, and it was fine.
Well,
I didn't hear anybody
if it's a
praises.
cell phone game, like, Jesus.
And then they remade Secret of Mana, which is, like, a Super Nintendo darling. That was the one that they sent to the US way back for the Super Nintendo. Trials of Mana, they kept in Japan.
Yeah. But that's kind of what I mean, though, is, like, if it doesn't involve the story, like, clearly we have to play this game first before playing the second game.
Yes.
Like, it has to go in that order. It's not like you can, oh, it makes more sense if you play it this way, but you can play it a different way. No, like, you need to play 1, 2.
Right.
You
It's
know.
not, I believe the word's anthology.
Yeah.
Whereas that's...
But I mean, even like...
Final Fantasy's that. Sure, they're numbered, but you can start with any because they do not connect.
Well, it's even like they're... I don't know about games, but there are books that do this. Like, Ted Dekker is a big author that does this, where in the series of books that he has, you can start with any book, and it makes sense.
Okay.
So, like, yes, he wrote them in an order.
Yeah.
But you can pick up any book in that series and read it through, and it makes sense.
Okay.
So it's like, of course, you can't read it like 2, 5, 4, 7, 1, but like you can start at 3 and go 3, 4, 5, 1, 2.
So it's like Star Wars? Where like there's multiple ways you can view them now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas like, it's more like a circle than a line.
I got you.
So that would be my question for the third one, is like, if the third installment of this game is like a direct continuation of the story,
right,
then yeah, I think that they should remake it.
I got you.
Because then, like...
Because like what I gathered,
business-wise
as
well,
so little
like,
about Dark Dawn, it's their children.
See, then I don't think it would necessarily need to be included.
Okay.
If it's like you know,
years
20
later.
years have passed, or if it was like 30 years previously, like those things, they aren't necessarily needed, I guess, for the story to make sense.
Yeah, I agree with
They're
you on
nice, and I think business-wise, they could do a lot of profit by packaging them all together. But
I think what would get the most attention is doing the first two.
Yeah.
Because that's the one people love.
Well, not only that, it's nostalgic.
Yep, nostalgic. And like that's what's happening with I think the latest one is Mario vs. Donkey Kong. They remade it on the Switch.
Well, I think it's just like we are in the age of nostalgia. Like millennials are so nostalgic.
Yes.
Because of how we grew up and the rapid advancements in technology.
Yep.
You know, we went from being in like 6th grade with like no one really had cell phones. You know, wealthy people had computers.
Yeah.
Like, your parents might have had, like, the big clunky cell phones, but for the most part, like, it was pretty minimal. You know, we had typing classes, and to 2 years later, we have mini computers in our pockets that we can go on the internet, we can download music.
I'll do you one better. They have their own tablets, their own prescribed tablets.
Well, like, that's the now. Like, kids now are so used to technology. But what I'm saying is millennials feel so nostalgic because we went through it so fast.
Quickly, yeah.
Like,
in the course of a decade.
Yeah, like, I can remember growing up playing records. I had a rotary phone. Like, my parents had beepers. You know, we listened to 8-tracks and cassette tapes. Like, I remember getting our first CD player. Like, and people were like, wow, how old are you? And I'm like, not really all that old. We were just from a time frame where technology advanced so fast.
So let me ask you this. Do you view nostalgia as a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it could be either.
Okay, all right.
So, like, I feel like there's nothing wrong with being nostalgic, but it's also, like, if you only live in nostalgia...
Yeah, you have to focus on the now.
There's definitely a way to incorporate nostalgia, and it's just, like, how you make games and how J-Monius makes games. Like, it's heavily based in nostalgia. You know, you use games that you grew up with that you loved as a roadmap in making your own games, but there's also a lot of modern things put into those games.
Yes.
So it's like, nostalgia can be good, but it can also be a hindrance if you can't move forward with the nostalgia. Like, if I only ever wanted to, like...
addicted to nostalgia.
Yeah.
Like, if there's, like, an addiction there, that's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah, because then you're just... to me, it's like, that's when...
I'm just curious if when you bring up nostalgia, you mean it as a negative or a positive. Because sometimes...
No, I definitely think it could be either.
Because, like, for example, I'll be like, oh, this game didn't really click with me. And you'll be like, well, there was no nostalgia. And I'm just like, yeah, but sometimes that's not the only reason why I don't like something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I can share a nostalgia with something, but also critically look at it away and be like, okay, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Or that aligns with my taste outside
But it's
of
also
nostalgia.
like playing a game that like if you take a step back, it's not all that great.
Okay.
And you're like, oh, I love this game so much. And it's like, yeah, there's some rose-colored glasses there.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. We're going to get there.
But, you know, it also works with, like, cartoons and stuff, you know, because that's my vice is cartoons. It's like,
Peeling
I
off
can
the
rewatch.
first Band-Aid is admitting that the Nintendo 64 has a bad controller.
But it's, you know, it can be a good thing and a bad thing, both or neither. Like, it's not anything other than a device. And it's like, right now, you know, think about it. What is selling? Nostalgia.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, all the Disney remakes, all of these movies that they're remaking, all of the merchandise that they're starting to
We're about to watch
resell.
another fucking Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah, so it's like nostalgia sells because millennials now, most of them have children of their own, and they're like, oh my god, I remember that time I went to saw Indiana Jones with, you know, my little brother and my dad, and it's like, oh, I can take little Billy here and my, you know, my spouse, and we can go watch it, and it's like reliving. And it's exciting because you get that feeling that you had when you were younger.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you get to see the excitement on your own kid's face, which is apparently magical to most parents to, like, see. I'm more excited about my cat.
Right.
But, like, you don't think that's lost on companies? They're going to be like, oh,
Right, yeah.
you know,
Oh, they're going to use that.
let's eat this up.
Oh, and they
And it's
do.
like, it's the same with fashion.
Nostalgia killed Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, it's the same even with fashion. Like, the clothes that I grew up wearing are coming back into style. And it's like, ooh, why? But, like, you know, so nostalgia sells. So from a business point of view, like, I think that there's a lot of money to be made.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not denying that for a second.
What would worry me is for companies, is that the only thing that they're looking at? Like, do they still have a love and a passion for that project, or is it only about the money?
Some yes, others no.
Because that's where we run into the issues with the live action remakes. It's all about the money. There's no passion behind those movies.
I agree.
It's just how much money can we make from this? And you can tell by watching the films that
Yeah.
there's no love behind that.
Yeah. Whereas, like, I haven't seen the movie, but just from the trailer, The Boy and the Heron, that looks like Miyazaki's passion continuing. Even despite his old age, like, that seems like a passion project that he wants to
Well, not
continue
only that,
to do.
Miyazaki has retired how many times now, and he's like, wait, I have another idea.
Yep. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure Miyazaki's like, this'll make money.
Yeah.
But also, I can almost bet that's Miyazaki being like, I have an idea, I have a story to tell.
But
Passionately.
I think that's the difference between Studio Ghibli, which is, I mean, you can intermittently say Studio Ghibli or Hayao Miyazaki, and anyone who's a fan knows what you're
Knows
talking
what I'm
about.
talking about, yeah.
Whereas, like, if you throw out some CEO's name from Disney,
Bob Iger.
like, I feel like most people, like, I don't know any of their names.
Okay.
Not anymore. I could not name one person other than Bob Iger because you just said it. But, like, I don't know one person that works there. So it's like, you can't exchange Disney for the people that work there and, like, a fan
Yeah.
base. Whereas,
For the
like,
longest time, I only knew Walt and Roy.
Yeah. And I know, like, some of the old animators because of research that I did for Disney's 9 Old Men. But,
Same.
like, other than that, it's like, that's how you can tell passion from not passion.
Yeah.
Is, like...
That was why Don Bluth left way back in the 80s.
Yeah. And it's like, you can tell, like, yeah, hell yeah. Miyazaki's probably like, this is going to make money, but I love what I'm doing. There's a team with Miyazaki. It's not just one old man working on it by himself.
Exactly, yeah.
But, like, it's his idea that he breathes life into. He has his hands in there. He is doing it with this team.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, Disney doesn't have that.
No.
They have a corporate team that sits at a big table and they discuss of what's going to make money and then they hand it down.
Have you seen
Like-
the behind the scenes to Frozen 2?
I don't know if I want to.
It is fucking jarring.
Like, it's just, you can tell, like, and that...
Like, if you watch the behind-the-scenes to Beauty and the Beast,
Yeah.
the 1991 Beauty and the Beast, and then you go and you watch the behind-the-scenes to, like, Frozen 2, it's
And again,
spooky.
it's like, it's not to say that the advancements they're making are bad, because Beauty and the Beast was probably mostly hand-drawn with some CG.
It's just the manner.
like-
Frozen 2 has this kind of, like, veil of, like,
Yeah.
everything's fine.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you clearly have no idea what the hell you're doing.
Like, you can
Everything's fine.
tell
Everyone got together.
from, like, the early 40s to the 90s, maybe even the early 2000s, that the animators were still passionate about what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So even if the company wasn't passionate anymore, the teams that were the creative teams still had that love.
Okay.
Whereas now, I feel like they're scared. They're like, oh god, I need this job.
Yeah.
Like, you know, whereas... And there's, again, good and bad with that as well. Like, crunch culture has really lessened, which is phenomenal.
It lessened, but there's also been massive layoffs.
Yeah. But in a way... So, and this is not a pro-crunch culture because it is awful and terrible. But there's a difference of staying to do something because you love what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And staying out of fear that you're going to be punished, that it's not done. So, like an example, if I'm at work and I'm there 10 minutes early, I'm going to putz around and do a couple things, you know. I'm not going to, like, go sit in the break room until it's time for me to punch in. Like,
Right.
yeah, I'll go turn the lights on and, you know, get some equipment turned on and, you know, look around and see how the closing was. And it's because I love what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am passionate about what I work with.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I've had jobs where it's just like, I'm going to sit on my ass until exactly when I need to clock in, and I'm not giving anything extra.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not passionate about it. I don't give a shit.
Right.
Like, there's a difference there. So, like, the animators, you know, I could see being maybe not excited, but, like, willing to stay and work and put everything they have into a project versus the, like, clock in, clock out.
Okay.
If it doesn't get done, if it's not 100%, you know, whatever.
I got you.
It's not my name on the project, you know, type mentality. And that's what I would be worried about with, like, a Golden Sun remake. Would they be focused on just making money and redoing it to make money?
Depends
or
on the
would
company
they...
in charge of the remake.
Yeah.
Would it be the OG Camelot? Would Nintendo give... Because Nintendo owns the rights.
Yeah.
This is Nintendo's property. So it can go either way, because I love Nintendo, but Nintendo is no stranger for cutting corners if they have to.
I feel like Nintendo will cut corners if it's not their original idea.
Correct.
Like
if this was
they're
a
like,
Mario
hey, we bought
thing,
this, right? So, you know,
Like-
if we don't get it, awesome. That's
from what
cool.
I've seen of the Mario RPG remake, they
It looks
went
stunning.
all out.
Yeah.
They went all out.
It's their original idea.
Yes.
You know.
Well, it's Square's, but Square
Yeah.
had their permission to work on it, and they got Square back. They got
Yeah.
most of the team back to do the remake.
Right.
But they have also in the past just be like, all right, make a remake. What can you do? That'll work.
Well, I feel like as well, it's, you know, similar to
It's also a good
Studio
like
Ghibli and Miyazaki.
intern for smaller
Yeah.
things. Just like,
Yeah.
hey, before we give you your own Donkey Kong game, just throwing that out as an
Yeah.
example. Let's see how you do with this remake.
Yeah. Which I don't think is terrible. Like, but
No,
it's-
just sometimes
it's the
it causes
same-
the remake to suffer because it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
bummer. If this would have been in better hands.
Well, it's the same as, like, so Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli, like, I think Nintendo, I think Miyamoto.
Yes.
But Miyamoto's name isn't on everything Nintendo. It is
No.
only on Nintendo property Nintendos. So it's Mario.
Not even that anymore, but yeah.
It's like, but that's what I associate with, and you can tell how much he loves that. So, and I feel like that bleeds through into the final product. Like,
Yeah.
if you love it and you're passionate about it and you want it to be the absolute best it can be, the company name and the creator are going to be synonymous.
Exactly. Well, it's one of the reasons why everyone's just like, oh, they give so much attention to Mario and Zelda, but why no Metroid? Well, sorry, Metroid's not really Miyamoto's baby.
Yeah.
It's I forget his name, shit. Sakamoto, maybe? But anyways, the point being is like Miyamoto likes Metroid. He'll support Metroid,
Yeah,
but it's not his.
It's the stepchild.
Exactly.
I think we've reached an impasse.
Oh, we'll see you all in the next episode.
Toodles!
Oops.